Previously on Forbidden Lands. It's been a long time. The days, months, and years roll by, but our stalwart squad of sundry scallywags found themselves deep within the Count's tomb, talking to the imprisoned spirit of his wife. Srodid became entranced by the flickering light of a green flame nearby, and his fixation for boiling water to make tea nearly led the group down a dangerous road within the spirit realm. Fortunately, this did not occur, and the spirit of the Count's wife offered a quest to the group: release her and her husband from their unending imprisonment. Unfortunately, this quest would dispatch the gang to the Under Fortress where Chrysilla and an army of demon folk reside. Seeing a need for reinforcements to mount an incursion on the Under Fortress Vond, the unlikely heroes returned to the Hollows. While there, Venaris sought out medical attention for his mangled foot after being mistaken for Crutchy from the Newsies too many times for his liking. Throkar carried a tremendously injured Woldreg to Nervea, the same medicine woman Venaris had hopped over to visit. In return for assisting the trio, Nervea requested that Venaris and Throkar repay her not with silver, but with homicide. Apparently, the arrival of the Blood Mist suspended the teaching of the Hippocratic Oath in the Forbidden Lands, because the sultry Dr. Quinn medicine woman lookalike wants David Carradine deader than dead. Not at all put off by the price of murder, Venaris overlooks the incredibly sinister amount of bird skulls the medicine lady is keeping in her house and agrees. Throkar decides to get out of there, and Fireman, or Fire Dwarf, carries Woldreg back to the best inn in town, the Dead Man's Hand. It seems as though the dwarves do two things better than everyone else: sleeping and grievous injury. This recap brought to you by Three Skulls Tavern. The answer is in the cup. About the same time all this murder for healing was happening, Srodid and Rolt were neck deep in the latest town fracas. Miss Palmer vs. Yawim in a struggle over the direction of the city the gang loves so much, or at least is willing to die to defend due to a persistently involved and overly invested goblin merchant with a heart of gold. The townsfolk were divided over who to trust with running the town. Yawim made points that Mrs. Palmer's leadership is as stale as the ale served at the Dead Man's Hand. Mrs. Palmer made points that Yawim, well, he isn't even from round here! Rolt took the opportunity to entrench himself in community politics, sensing that the townsfolk of the Hollows really would like to know just what an outsider and goblin thought of both sides of the argument. Just when both halves of the townspeople were about to start snapping their fingers and initiate some kind of dance-like combat, the camera cut back over to the other half of the party. With Woldreg safely stashed at the inn, Venaris and Throkar finally came to an agreement to visit Yawim so that Throkar could at least discuss the finer points of Merimanian bounty law. What ultimately resulted was a pint-sized Mexican standoff between the two dwarves over whether or not Throkar would imbibe the heretical brew Yawim had become locally famous for. Venaris seized this opportunity to get fully loaded while the two short ones stared each other down. Rolt and Srodid ambled in after the crowds dispersed outside.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
World-renowned fantasy author J.K. Rowling has just tweeted, "A lot of people have been asking what Dobby got up to after he got the sock and fucked off for several books. Well, I'm happy to say that with his newfound freedom, Dobby traveled to a faraway land where he was mistaken for a half-elf named Gyreman. This has in turn prompted many fans on ForbiddenLandZ.com's message boards to speculate that a new character may be joining the heroes on their adventure, or that J.K. Rowling is just continuing to grasp at absolutely anything she can in order to stay relevant." We now return to the recap, already in progress. Finally, at the behest of the rest of the party, Throkar swilled the ale to prove to himself that Yawim's disturbing human recipes were inferior. It was then that a messenger from the gods, or perhaps an altogether otherworldly force, climbed into Throkar's taste buds and informed him that this was the best beer he had ever tasted. Sacrilegious. Rolt and Srodid enjoyed a quick brew and then bounced off to Mrs. Palmer's residence, ostensibly so that Srodid could acquire more tea he'd so desperately been deprived of for the entirety of the episode. Mrs. Palmer enticed the goblins with a treacherous offer in order to secure her control over the hollows. Sabotage Yawim's boat, disabling him from traveling and bringing more trouble to the area. In return, Rolt was offered a stable for Eponia, and a newer, sleeker horse, probably named after another one of Link's horses. Srodid, on the other hand, was offered more tea than he could imagine. Unfortunately, Srodid had never developed an imagination and was left to ponder just how much tea that could be. What will happen next? Will Rolt abandon the group to run as mayor of the Hollows? Will Operation Boats and Throws successfully strand Yawim in the Hollows? Will Venaris, city guardsman and professional lush, fill the Rust Brothers' prescription for murder? Will Throkar accept the loss of his friend as collateral damage for getting some dank, heretical ale? Find out on another exciting episode of Forbidden Land Z.